marine spatial planning is one of the tools that Steve McCormick mentioned we know works. So I endorse all the comments. We've got plenty of good scientific evidence that it works. And the other thing about scalability of managing marine protected areas is that what took us 30 years to do in the Barrier Reef for 360,000 square kilometres has just been done over 5 years by the Australian government for the whole economic zone. So 6 million square kilometres has been spatially planned, and it'll be finished this year. So I'm a great optimist and advocate for there is a role for government, and it tends to be setting a vision for solving the tragedy of the commons, if you like, and it tends to be for providing safety nets and minimum standards. Come on to ecotourism, and that's the example I'd like to give you in the Great Barrier Reef. In the risk assessment of the threats to the reef, which is a beautiful, large, natural system, World Heritage property of outstanding universal value, that fishing comes about fourth. Climate change, coastal development, water quality, all are a greater risk to the health of the reef than fishing, but there remains risks to fishing. So we're looking for partnerships and stewardship, and we've learned you can't regulate everything away, basically, and that's the lesson of 30 years in the reef. Tourism is worth probably 10 to 20 times more than fishing in the Great Barrier Reef. Ecotourism has become the product, and it's about $5 billion, so the management of the marine park is less than 1% of that cost. So we're low on that scale of estimates you were talking. And we've achieved for us it's about how you have the conversation. You don't go in and say, we want X% no use here, and it's more, what are we trying to achieve mutually? We want a healthy reef, healthy tourism, and we also look for encouraging the pride of ownership, the stewardship. And so that's the starting point for the ecotourism operation. What can governments do? Well, we can give them longer permits. So if you achieve our third-party audited, high standard, accredited ecotourism ratings, we will give you a 15-year permit to operate, which you can take to a bank, rather than a 6-year permit. So we now, I think we've got 65% of all visitors on high standard operations, which is 1.1 million people per year. And it's tending to sell itself now with the industry. They see the returns. People look for those operators when they come to visit. So it's a self-feeding cycle. It really is working. And I think the key elements for success of it would be the stewardship element, and also a kind of realistic, practical, we call it our outlook assessment. It's really a risk assessment, a regular risk assessment of what are the real threats, what have you got to do to address them. I love the expression yesterday of the heat map. I thought, I'm going to take that home and do a heat map for some of the way we express our risks. The thing about park managers, like my organisation, you run a risk in dealing with industry of appearing to be worried about everything. They're hard to talk to, because whatever you say, it's usually no, or we've moved on from there. So there's sort of how you have the conversation is very important, building that public-private relationship. So it's not a public-private partnership in the sense of building a freeway, where everyone puts in money. We play our role as a regulator and a minimum standards and a rewarder and a recogniser. And the final attribute that we've found, we started a new program called our Reef Guardians, and that's recognising people in the catchments, the farmers, the fishermen along the coast, the local councils that regulate wastewater. We're finding there's a pride element. You can't have a genuine partnership if you demonise your partner. So you've got to have mutual regard as you go into it. And that's a key success element for effective stewardship. Okay.